Bonsoir à toutes et à tous. Et oui, le Marseille Web Fest revient. Vous venez de regarder la Masterclass avec Greg Garcia qui m'accompagne ce soir. Petite précision pour ceux qui ne sont pas complètement fluent en English. La Masterclass sera sous-titrée et vous aurez donc une version disponible avec des sous-titres en français d'ici quelques jours, donc restez patients. Et voilà. Donc j'ai le plaisir d'accueillir ce soir Greg Garcia, qui est le showrunner de la série, notamment My Name is Earl, mais pas que. On va pouvoir commencer ce petit chat avec lui. Il nous accorde une petite séance de questions-réponses depuis son bureau à Los Angeles. Good evening, well, good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. Thank you so much for waking up so early for Marseille Web Fest.
Oh, my pleasure. I've been up writing all morning, so it's all good.
At what time did you wake up this morning? 5?
I usually get up around 6 a.m. and try to get started if I can. So maybe take the dog for a walk real quick. But I like to get things going in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So now you are talking with us from your office, right? Where you write. This is your writing room.
I'm in my home office here, where I can hide in the back of the house, and hopefully nobody bothers me too much while I try to get stuff done.
Well, we are just bothering you just half hour, but then
you'll be back. No, not you guys.
No, you're not meant to us. Okay.
My family.
Okay, I feel better now. We have someone from Brazil saying hello. It's Liga da Mata. So hi, hola.
Hello.
Someone who has just joined, the live. Greg, since you are in your office writing, can you tell us what is a writing room? Because we always hear showrunners talking about writing rooms, and especially now that we are in a COVID situation, special. So, what happens with the writing rooms?
Well, it's different things. I mean, I'm working on a show right now, and right now I'm at the place where I'm writing scripts, so I'm doing that by myself. But before this, I actually had a couple writers come over that I've worked with in the past, and we set up a writer's room in my backyard. We all sat 10 feet apart from each other. We had these giant dry erase boards, which I actually still have over here, which I kind of break things down with that. And we all sat for 2 days in my backyard, and we did like a social distancing, safe, COVID safe writer's room. But now I'm just doing stuff on my own. But I have friends that are doing a lot of writers' rooms on Zoom and stuff like that. And it just takes some getting used to, but you got to do it.
So this might be the reason why I lost my internet capacity, because you guys are doing some writing session.
That's what it is. We're hogging it all. We're hogging all the internet to try to get you.
That's why I lost my internet connection, because of you guys. Okay. Yeah. Can you tell us more about your board? The one that you showed me with all it looks like an FBI, investigation crime.
Yeah, so that's me trying to figure out kind of what the first season of this show I'm doing is about. So what I have there is each row going vertically is an episode. And then each colored card is what the particular character or storyline is doing in that episode. So then what I can do is, I can move them all around. Sometimes I think that something's going to happen in one episode, and then I realize that it's not. So I use that to kind of figure out the season. And then I use the same board. I just take the cards off of it and then use markers to really start to get detailed into each episode and stuff. It helps me to kind of see it all in front of me, like a bird's eye view of what's happening, rather than just be right into the computer and not have as much perspective.
Okay. Since I love, the yellow color, as you can tell.
Yes.
What does yellow mean on your board?
Yellow is, this show is about some people that are going to commit some crimes. And there's one it's one big crime that they're trying to do for the whole season. So the yellow on the top is all the little things they have to do for the bigger crime, and then the yellow below it are all the small crimes they have to do to fund the bigger crime that's going to be over the course of the whole season.
Okay, wow, quite meaningful, huh? Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's a comedy. It's about some convicts who get out of prison because of COVID. So it's very much a comedy, but it's a bunch of goofballs, but there is some crime stuff in it.
So this is the pretty much the title you mentioned during the masterclass, right? You told me that you were working on the project inspired, by the COVID-19. So a comedy, of course, a comedic show.
Yeah.
So this is the one you are working on now.
Yes. So now I'm off to the point where they really like the pilot. They bought that script, and now I'm going to write 3 more scripts, and we're going to see. Hopefully, we go from there.
Well, good. So wish you all the best.
Thank
good
you.
luck. Talking about this COVID-19 situation, do you think that it's inspiring like a new kind of how is it inspiring like storytellers and writers? Do you feel like because of this situation you need to write something that is like loosely inspired or related to this situation?
Yeah, I think there's different ways to go. I mean, some audience members will want just escape and not to think about this at all. And I know some people that are writing things and to avoid the COVID stuff, they're putting it in the past. So, it took place 5 years ago, so they don't have to deal with any of that stuff. But I think audiences are also going to want an acknowledgement of this time in our lives where everyone is having a shared experience. So, yeah, I was motivated to write something. I didn't want to write something that was too close to everyone's experience. Like, I've been stuck in my house with my family. I don't want to watch a show about people stuck in the house with their family. I've been having to do Zoom meetings. I particularly don't want to watch a show about Zoom meetings, but I know people are doing them. But I decided to do something in a world that's very foreign to my world and most people's world, which is the prison system and people and criminals. So you get to acknowledge what's going on, but there's also kind of escapism as an audience member because you're going into a world you normally wouldn't be a part of.
Can you tell us more about this? Your character, your main actor, is like a male character?
Yeah, my main character is a guy who actually went to prison when he was 24 years old, when there were a lot of mandatory minimum sentences at the time for drug offenses. Okay. And he was a 24-year-old guy who sold marijuana. And at the time it was illegal. And when he got arrested, he was near a school. And all of a sudden he was looking at 30 years in jail for selling marijuana, which happens, unfortunately, and has happened in the past. But when they had these more archaic criminal laws, about sentencing. So he's been there. He's not really a bad guy, but he spent a lot of time in prison, and then he finds himself out. But he finds himself out with a bunch of other criminals who want to keep committing crimes. But he has a little bit more of a code of conduct where he will commit crimes as long as it's against people who deserve it. Okay. And then he uses his share of the money to reward people that are being good. So there's kind of a Robin Hood element.
Yeah, I was about to say that, like a Robin Hood, like a modern Robin Hood. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a combination of a bunch of, I had a couple shows that I've tried to do in the past with not a lot of luck for whatever reasons. And so I took some of the elements of a lot of these and put them together for this one.
Interesting. So is it like a 22 minutes format episode?
Yeah, it's going to be on a streaming network. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an exact time each week, which I'm excited about because it's the first time I've done one of those shows. So if the story dictates it being 22 minutes, great. If the story dictates it being 29 minutes, I can make it 29 minutes. So I'm looking forward to having that kind of creative flexibility.
What do you find challenging in this format? Do you think it's more challenging to be able, let's say, to write a compelling story, to be able to say, to develop, your character, is it a challenging format, 22? Do you have, like, in terms of writing, and setting the story, the character?
I think with this particular one, the challenge for me is the fact that I want to have this ongoing storyline and this kind of criminal heist that these guys are trying to do. I haven't written that kind of thing before. So that's taking some work and some math to kind of figure it all out. My last show was an anthology show where each episode kind of was a new cast and a whole new story, which has its challenges because you have to introduce the audience to new people every week. But at the same time, it can be very closed-ended. Each episode, I mean, people can die. It doesn't matter because it's just a little movie each week. Where this one, whatever I'm doing in episode 1, will greatly affect episode 2, 3, 4. And so I do a lot of kind of running ahead, figuring stuff out, and then I go back and I make adjustments so it makes sense. And so it's fun, but it's more of a puzzle than the last show I did.
Okay. I found Tim Allen, the US comedian. But he's very known for playing, Tim, the toolman in the sitcom Home Improvement. In French, It's Bricole, so it was a very famous sitcom. Once said, he was questioned about his sense of humor, and his ability to be funny, And he said, like, being funny is a gift. It's like, it's magic, it's a gift from. Do you think it's like, because he was really questioned about that, like how can you just
I do think it's something, being funny is something that you're kind of born with to some extent. And also I think it's training. I was lucky to grow up in a family that was always joking and laughing, and you find yourself after doing it a lot, you find yourself is no matter what anyone says, it kind of goes through a joke filter first. You just hear something and you're like, okay, what's the joke? And which can be tiring sometimes. But yeah, I do think it is a gift. And look, and the thing is like, I know a lot of comedy writers and they're all very funny, but then I laugh harder at my friends when I'm back home on the East Coast, and none of them work in entertainment or comedy or anything, and they're hilarious. And that's the great thing about writing comedy, is you're writing it for people that are funny themselves. So they're not going to be laughing if they don't have a great sense of humor. So I think luckily there's tons of people with really good sense of humors out there.
Great. No, because why I'm asking that, because he was questioned. It was like an interview where they were trying to give some advice to people who were looking to write like a comedy shows. And the question was like, can we read a book, on how to write funny stuff? Can we like take a class on how to be fun, to write funny stuff? And this was like the context, because I asked you this question like without context, but I forgot to give you this information. So yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I think, look, I mean, I think you're born with a certain amount of a sense of humor, and your environment certainly it changes that as well. But I think the more you pay attention to things, and there are certain books you can read and things, so I think you can get better at it for sure. If you're not just naturally funny, I think you can figure it out.
Yeah, because like, for instance, I find myself very funny, when with my sister, with my family, but I would be like unable to write something funny, You know what I mean?
You know that you just have to try, and you just have to, all the things that you find funny in life, then just figure out how to translate them to the page. I think you'll be surprised.
I'll try. I don't know if we have questions now. We have Eugène Trebald who says bonsoir. Bonsoir, Eugène. So if you have a question to ask, feel free to do so. There is a chat section, so feel free to ask any question to Greg Garcia. So I'm still waiting for people to. I think that people are connecting tonight, and because tonight, I have to tell you something. What's happening in France? Tomorrow we have to. The government decided to set up a couvre-feu. Meaning that because of the situation, the COVID-19 that is increasing, the number of people sick,
sure.
So we won't be allowed to be out between 9 p.m. and 6 in the morning.
Okay.
So it means that after tonight, this is the last evening where people can really go out and enjoy themselves, go to the bars and drink, and so
and catch the virus.
And catch.
Yeah, this is your last chance to catch the virus, so you really want to get out, drinking up, talking each other's faces.
Exactly. Yeah. So it looks like people, are rushing tonight to the bars, and because they want to.
I don't blame them. They got to get out there. How else are they going to catch the virus?
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Just jumping to something else, I wanted to ask you, when we did the masterclass, but we didn't have time actually. A few questions of a Chinese portrait. Like, if you were a song, what would you be if you were a song?
If I was a song?
Yeah.
I would be a song. I think I would be one of my favorite songs called Give It Up by the Hot House Flowers, which is all about trying to give back and help people. Because I think that not that I think I'm some kind of saint that does that, but I strive to do it, and I try to emulate that kind of feeling in my writing as much as I can. So that's the first one that comes to mind. It's a song that I don't think I am, but I wouldn't be as so pompous to say that I am that song, but it's a song that I certainly strive to be.
Okay. If you were a movie.
If I was a movie, I would say I'd want to be my favorite movie, Raising Arizona, with Nicolas Cage, which is a football comedy that's shot wonderfully by the Coen brothers. It's one of the it's a movie I saw when I was a kid. I think that a lot of my style and my writing and filmmaking, I've copied from them a little bit. In fact, Nicolas Cage had a tattoo on his arm in that movie of the cartoon Woody Woodpecker. And so just last year, before I turned 50, I got the same tattoo.
Nice.
So yeah, I think I'd have to answer Raising Arizona.
Good. A historical year.
Oh, a historical year. Ooh, I don't know. Not 2020, that's for sure.
Not 2020.
I wouldn't want to be that. I would say something in the 1970s. I was born in 1970. Let's say 1977. For no real reasons other than just kind of the culture at that time, as far as like entertainment and just kind of style. I seem to really enjoy the motif of the 70s, the cars of the 70s. I have a bunch of old cars from the 70s that I collect. Smokey and the Bandit was a movie that came out, and I was 7 years old when I saw it, and I fell in love with Burt Reynolds and everything he did, and I think all that stuff has influenced me quite a bit. So I would say, if I had to pick a year, 1977.
Okay. If you were like you are an artist, but if you were like an artist like outside the showrunner category, what would you be?
I think if I could pick anything, I'd want to be a stand-up comedian. And I know that's not too far from what I do, but it is different. I mean, you're standing on stage and you're just all alone and you're entertaining people. And I have a lot of respect for stand-up comedians because I think writing is one of the most difficult things you can do because you start with nothing and then you have to come up with it. All the other jobs in the entertainment business, they're hard and they take a lot of talent, but at least you have a script to work from. You have some kind of instructions. A writer just has to come up with it. However, when you're a stand-up comedian, you not only have to come up with all the material, but then you have to go perform it all by yourself. And at least when I write something, I can give it to an actor. And then if the joke is terrible, they're the ones standing out there, unfortunately, not me. But as a stand-up comedian, you have to do everything. So I think that would be a very hard job. I have a lot of respect for it. So since I have so much respect for it, I would say that would be the thing I'd love to do. Do
you have any stand-up comedian in particular that you like?
I like a lot of them. There's a guy that I've worked with recently. We tried to sell a show, a guy named Nate Bargatze, who has a stand-up special on Netflix called The Tennessee Kid. I like him a lot. I listen to Bill Burr a lot. There's a guy named Tom Segura who I like. So yeah, I'm friends and follow a lot of stand-up comedians. It would take me a long time to tell you all the ones that I enjoy, but I'm a big fan of it.
And do you like when you write a comedy show? Are you involved in the casting? The cast at some point, like, do you?
Oh yeah. I'm fortunate enough that now when I create a show, I get to be in charge of everything: the casting, the directing, whatever. So it's great because you get to really see your vision from beginning to end. You have no one to blame if it doesn't turn out well, so you have to take all the blame as well. But yeah, I love the casting process, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some amazing actors over the years too. So, but that's a real fun part of it all.
Okay. So I'm just checking whether we have any question coming, perhaps on, I don't know, there should be, I don't see any question. I don't know if you have a technical problem, or I don't know.
It's all right. We did too good of a job with the masterclass.
Yeah, I think the masterclass was too yeah. Yeah, it was perfect actually. I had a. So we spoke about your show. I know that you don't like to. Well, you told us a lot about your project on which you are writing now. I don't know if you can tell us. We can perhaps just talk again about your previous show. I don't know if you have any series that you would like to. I don't know. What do you think? Because we spoke about My Name is Earl. About, do you have any series that you would like to mention, especially within the?
Sure. I'd like to. You know what? I mean, a lot of people have seen My Name is Earl, and then Raising Hope after that. Not as many people have seen a show I did called The Guest Book, which was 2 seasons. It was on TBS. We're working now to get it on Hulu or another streaming service. So I'm looking forward to maybe more people seeing it once it's more widely available. You can buy it on iTunes, which I believe it's still up there, that you can buy it there. And it's, like I mentioned, it's a different movie every week. And we were very fortunate to get a lot of great guest stars, a lot of known actors and actresses that were very good. And it was just a lot of fun. It actually started as an idea because I would go out to the mountains and I would write in guest books while I was out renting a house, just to make the people that came next go crazy and try to figure out, I'd write these like 30-page crazy stories and leave them behind. And then we turned it into a TV show. So yeah, I'd love people to find that and check that out. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's very much in the same tone and feeling as my previous shows. And we had some of the same actors come on, and it was a blast to do.
But actually, it's true that this the guest book is not, let's say, available everywhere but it's very famous. Everyone knows about it. So I mean, the series is very famous, despite the fact that it's not available, on television. You know what I mean?
Some people seem to know about it, which is great. And yeah, we've been trying hard to get it out there. I'm not so sure why, to be honest with you, why it's not available at places yet. But we as recent as yesterday, I was on the phone talking to people about getting it out there. And for me, it's just a matter of letting more people see it, because I think we did a really good job. And we were on a network that it did fine for that network, but that network doesn't get huge numbers. So I think the fun part about getting it out there on a streaming service is that people haven't seen it. So it's going to feel like a brand new show for a lot of people. So I'm anxious to share it with people.
Okay, I have a question from Eugène Trebal. He's asking, Greg, est-ce que Greg va rester uniquement à la TV? So will you be writing only for television, or do you have some plans with cinema?
Well, that's a great question. I get asked that a lot. I mean, up until this point, I've just done television. I've been very lucky that for many, many years, I was just constantly working. And so I never had time to do a movie or attempt that. One time I did write a movie script a long time ago, and it had a little bit of promise to it. I wrote it with an actor, a guy named John Stamos, who's a friend of mine, and we wrote we wrote a movie together, and then ultimately we didn't do anything with it because when we finished it, then My Name is Earl got picked up, and I got too busy to do anything with it. So it's certainly something I've thought about. My friend called me the other day, actually, who's a stand-up comedian, and he had a very funny idea for an animated, R-rated animated movie, and we may write that together. So it's certainly something that I'm interested in. The difference between TV and movies is when you write a TV show, as we discussed, you get to kind of be in charge and see it through from beginning to end. A movie is different. You as a writer, you write it and then you hand it over, and then the director's in charge, and they can change whatever they want, and you go see it at the theater later and you see what happened. And because I've had so much experience being in charge, I do think that if I wrote a movie, I'd like to direct it, so I can still stay with it and see it all the way through. And that's part of the reason that I've been doing so much directing in television. I want to get better at it, and I want to make someone comfortable that if I do write a movie script, that they'll feel comfortable with me directing it. So yeah, so it's just been TV. I did write a musical that was on Broadway, and so that was a different thing than TV, but no movies yet.
So how long have you been directing? Like more recently compared to the writing?
I started directing on My Name is Earl. And so that was, that was probably like, gosh, what's that, like 15 years ago or something that I started. And then I direct like 1 or 2 episodes a year. Sometimes when you're running a show, you don't have time to actually direct it as well. But I started to really enjoy it. So then with the next show, Raising Hope, I would direct more when my schedule allowed it. And then with the guest book, we did 20 episodes and I directed 10 of them. So at this point, I very much enjoy directing what I write. And I find myself when I'm writing, really paying attention to the visuals and starting to figure out how I want to shoot it. So if I don't direct it, I can tell a director how I want it to be shot. But in a perfect world, I just go ahead and direct it. And I already know what I plan on doing. So
does it thrill you more to direct than writing? So are you just looking to shift perhaps more to directing, or
not necessarily shift? It's just an added thing that I like to do because I've never directed anything I didn't write. I don't think I have a lot of interest in directing something I didn't write, although, I'll never say never. If somebody gives me a script that speaks to me, I can see it. But what I like is being able to just take it from start to finish. So writing is still the most exciting thing for me because, like I said, you start with nothing and you have to create this whole world and characters, and it's fun. Sometimes I write a script and nothing happens with it, but I feel happy because I got to watch the TV show in my mind, and that was entertaining for me. So directing is just another step of just being able to have control and see your vision from start to finish.
Okay, I have a question from Fodil, which asks, like, are you totally free when you write, let's say, a show, when you start writing a show, or does it happen sometimes that when you pitch a project or a show to a producer or a broadcaster or a network, does it happen that like you have some feedbacks from them on the topics that you deal with, like they tell you to change or to revise your description of the character on how you are you totally free to
it's different. It's kind of different with every project, and where you are with your career as well, because as you do more and more stuff, they tend to trust you more. And certain places are known for trusting you more than other places. So like when you're doing a network show for the big networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, they have advertisers they have to deal with, and they have a lot of bosses, and they give a lot of notes, and they want to be involved. And then it's up to you as a writer to decide what notes you're going to take and what notes you're not going to take. But it's a collaborative process. And then some of the streamers or cable channels, and it's a case-by-case basis, but they're a little bit more known for letting the writers do their thing and trusting them and then seeing what they come up with, at least in the beginning stages. This particular show I'm working on, I wrote it with no involvement at all, and then I sold it, and I sold it to people who liked it. So the good news is they like what I wrote already. And so when I talk to them about subsequent episodes, sure, they have a couple thoughts or questions or things that they want to build up more than others. But so far, it's been a very, very freeing, creative experience where they're not too involved, but they're very supportive. So like I said, it can depend on the project. But for the most part, you're never 100% free. Unless you're funding the whole thing yourself. I mean, someone's going to have some notes, but it's just how you tackle those notes and deal with them.
Have you been approached by, let's say, a network to write, let's say, a show for a broader audience, for more like a family audience, a show like Friends, or have you been approached for such kind of projects? Or
yeah, I've been asked to do things. You get asked to do things a lot, and people will call and say, "Oh, we have this particular actor, and we want you to work with them," or we have this idea that somebody else has, but they're kind of inexperienced. So will you come in and change it? Whatever. I almost always say no to those things. I don't, at this point, I don't really look to just do things because I think they're going to get on the air. I much rather sit and write my own show that's my own creation and it not get on than to chase somebody else's idea. It's just not what I like to do. Plenty of people do it. I got a call not long ago to help reboot a very, I'm not going to say what it is, but it was a famous sitcom that they're going to do a new version of. And there's a lot of reasons to do it, but for me, I rather keep moving forward and do original stuff than rehash old things.
Interesting. We have a question. Jen is asking, like, what's the secret for like a good pitch? How to convince with your pitch? What is the secret?
Oh gosh, I think there's a couple secrets with your pitch. So I think whenever you pitch something, you have to be 100% confident. Don't go in there scared or unsure of yourself. Just convince yourself that your idea is the best idea that they're ever going to hear, because just as much as you're selling them an idea, you're selling them on you. These people hear a million ideas, and chances are they've heard a version of the idea that you're going to pitch, unless you've come up with something crazy original, which happens as well. I'm not saying it doesn't, but chances are they've heard something like what you're pitching. So what they're now looking at is you, and are you the person to tell this story? Do they have confidence in you to get it done? So I think that's the number one thing, is to show confidence, to know your pitch backwards and forwards. I don't like bringing in a piece of paper if I can help it. The good thing about Zoom these days is a lot of pitches are over Zoom. So you can literally take, like that board I was talking about, you can write all your stuff on that and put it right behind your computer, and they don't even know that you don't have a piece of paper. So I've done that recently as well too. And the other thing is I would just make your pitch as personal to you as you can. If let's just say you're pitching a show about an ice cream shop. Yeah. And I think in your pitch, you should talk about that when you were in high school, you worked in an ice cream shop and all these crazy things happened and you had this crazy boss and he did this. And here's the secret of everything. You can make it all up. It doesn't matter. You can lie. Nobody knows if you worked in an ice cream shop or not. This job is about making things up anyway. So if you can successfully convince them you worked in an ice cream shop, then great. Who cares? It's just a TV show. And some people have given me grief saying, oh, you shouldn't lie in a pitch, but this is what we do. It's all make-believe. So I think being confident and making the pitch personal so they know you're the person that should be writing this.
Okay. Now, because the young man who was asking this question, he said, do you need to have a special technique, like to take classes? But you kind of answered to this question, which is because you took only one class. No, you said that during the masterclass.
I took a class in writing that kind of showed me the nuts and bolts and the formats of sitcoms, but I certainly didn't take any notes on pitching. And you learn a lot of things going in. When I first started pitching, I would be very nervous. I'd have a piece of paper. I'd feel like I have to put on a show. And I think it came across as somewhat desperate. Now I was very young, so then people felt bad for me, and they I think if I did that now, they'd be like, "What's wrong with this guy?" Back then, they give you a pass and they kind of give you a little leeway if you're young and you're doing that. But I think it's all about preparation and confidence, really, and just you can't practice too many times, and practice to your family and your friends, and let them react and listen to their feedback, and just be prepared.
And this, I think you mentioned something that is really important that we tend to forget, is like when you said you need to be very yourself. You are let's say selling yourself, because people need to trust you. Because what you said is they have the producers or networks, they might have been pitched how many times, 100 times, the same ideas, but what will make the difference is you. And this is something that we do not mention. We don't talk about that. It's like we don't really, because we don't know this part. It's kind of
it's not just the idea. People think that they have an idea and that's just going to carry them through, and it's just not. It's about selling yourself. And I've told this to people in the past too, that the development process, once you sell them the idea that they're going to pay you to write a script, you have to keep in mind most of the networks, they buy 75 to 100 scripts a year. And then from those scripts, they decide that they're going to shoot 10 pilots. Yeah. And from those 10 pilots, they're going to put 2 of them on the air. Yeah. So your odds are against you. But if you can get into the cycle, if you can be one of those 75 to 100 scripts, your job is to not only try to get your show on the air, but thinking for the long haul, you want to sell them on you. Because most of those scripts are not going to get shot. But if your script isn't shot, you at least want them the next time you go in and pitch to go, oh, that guy was fun to work with, or that woman was fun to work with. And they took our notes and they listened to us and it was a fun process. So maybe that one didn't work out, but now you're set up to do the next one. And maybe that's the one that's going to work out. You always have to think of development as an audition for yourself for your next job. Let's assume this one's not going to get on.
So it's like, you have been building your personal legend, your personal branding, along the years. And actually what you are saying, if I sum it up, is like you are selling Greg Garcia. You are selling a show, a title, a story, character, but you are selling Greg Garcia to the networks, to the platform. This is what you are kind of saying.
Yeah, because like I said, it's about confidence. And it's about creating these relationships with people who are in the position to buy these shows. And then the more you create your own reputation, then it actually takes the onus off of the people buying the show for their bosses, because they are more likely to buy a show from somebody who's established and has had a good relationship with them, because then if it fails, they can at least look at their bosses and go, well, what was I going to do? The person did this, and they, it's whatever. So that's why you'll see a lot of people getting chances again and again who they've worked with.
I think we kind of it's time now to wrap up, I would say.
Okay, sounds good.
It's been it's been a pleasure as always to talk to you, Greg. I hope you enjoyed the question that we.
Absolutely, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk about a few more things, and doing the masterclass was a lot of fun, and this has been a blast.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, and we hope that we haven't taken too much of your time.
Not at all. I needed a little break.
And I want people to realize that we are like really in a special moment, because Greg is in his office writing. So thank you for granting us this exceptional moment, Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. I appreciate it.
Merci beaucoup. Have a good day. And bonne soirée à tous. Donc, je vous rappelle que ce live sera disponible sur Facebook. Et je vous invite donc à vous connecter à notre plateforme pour voir ou revoir la masterclass avec Greg Garcia, qui sera disponible dans quelques jours avec des sous-titres en français. Restez connectés, le Marseille Web Fest continue. Encore de nouvelles séries seront en ligne avec 2 masterclass, une sur l'Australie et une masterclass avec Rob Edwards, le scénariste d'animation. Je vous souhaite une très bonne soirée et je vous dis à demain. Au revoir.